Okay, but can we just go to this key issue, and I address this to Mr. Gould and the DMO and to the department. So, key strategic considerations encompass those matters that relate to Australia's national interests, which the government must also take into account in making a decision on any defence major acquisition program. Does that mean, I put this to you, Vice Admiral Barrett, and to you, Mr. Gould, and to you, Mr. Richardson, if need be, does that mean even if one of the parties, as part of this competitive evaluation process, on the face of it, seems to give the best value or the best capability in terms of the actual equipment, if there are broader strategic considerations, it doesn't mean that they'll necessarily get it. In other words, if you appear to be the winner of the CEP, of the competitive evaluation process, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will end up getting the contract to build the submarines.
I don't think that's what we were meaning with those choice of words, Senator.
So are you saying, I'll put this to Mr. Gould and to Vice Admiral Barrett, that if at the end of the competitive evaluation process that there appears to be a clear winner, for want of a better word, it doesn't necessarily mean that what appears to be best as a result of the CEP will necessarily get to build the future submarines because of the issue of key strategic considerations set out in the answer to my question on notice 2112, which I've read out.
You're gone.
I don't read it that way. I don't understand it that way at all.
But it's a direct question. It's a direct question.
So what
whoever wins the CEP, does that mean they'll get to build the submarines?
Let me just explain a bit more about the CEP in that case. What we have given to each of the tenderers is if you like, it's a kind of map. It says these are the specific questions we have asked you to answer under the contracts we have let you. And this is how the answers to those questions build up into an evaluation and how those evaluations meet the operational, technical, commercial and other criteria for the submarine. Now, I don't know what the result of that's going to be. I don't know if there'll be a clear winner. I suspect it's much more likely that there'll be a series of considerations of differently balanced risks. But what we then need to go and do at the end of the stage is, having come to what may be a clear recommendation, it may be not quite such a clear recommendation, is to make sure that we can reconcile that with the broader strategic considerations.
And that could trump whoever wins on the face of it, the process. You're shaking your head, Mr. Richardson.
Because, of course, I think, I may be wrong here, but I think Mr. Gould is referring to strategic in terms of the way Chief of Navy was.
Won't the strategic issues trump the CP? Can I just give you one example, and perhaps this is where I'm headed. I just want to be, completely upfront, and this is what's piqued my interest. In 2001, the German company Atlas Elektronik won a competitive evaluation between its ISUS, that's ISUS, submarine combat system, you know the one, ISUS, unfortunate acronym nowadays, and the US CCS Mark II, the submarine combat system. The process was cancelled, the competitive evaluation process was cancelled, and the contract awarded to the US on strategic grounds. So that's an example where there's a competitive evaluation process. It was won by the German company, but the US won the contract on strategic grounds. That is an example of a competitive evaluation process where the apparent winner doesn't get to do the build.
Understood.
Right? I'm giving you a specific example. Sure. How do we know that won't happen here in respect to the future submarines?
I don't know. I'd simply say that in answer to your question on notice, Senator, I don't believe we were using the word strategic in that sense.
Well, what sense? It's plain English.
We were meaning it more in the terms that the way the Chief of Navy was talking, re-white paper and the like. But look, we don't know. We simply don't know the outcome of the competitive evaluation process at this point.
But do you concede, Mr. Richardson, that there are circumstances back in 2001, the German company Atlas Elektronik won the competitive evaluation process, but it was still awarded to the Americans on strategic grounds? Not criticising that decision, but it was awarded to the Americans. The process was effectively sidelined, and the Americans won it because of strategic considerations. That could still happen here, could it not?
You could develop all sorts of hypothetical
But this is a real
scenarios.
example.
You could develop all sorts of hypothetical scenarios in relation to the future submarine and the competitive evaluation process that would give you different answers. And I think it's far too premature for us to be engaging on speculation about hypothetical scenarios that may or may not come to life in another 6, 8, 9 months.
But there is a precedent of a competitive evaluation process
I think
where...
the point-
There is a
sorry,
case.
Sorry,
It's not
sorry,
a
Mr
precedent.
Attorney, I haven't finished my question, if I may. If I may. There is a precedent in 2001 of a competitive evaluation process where the winner of that process, the apparent winner, was sidelined because of strategic considerations. I'm not criticising that decision, but they were sidelined.
Well, Senator Xenophon, what I was trying to say is what I think Mr Richardson is trying to say is that if there is a precedent, it's not a very instructive one.
It's still a precedent.
Well, it's not a very instructive one. This process has been described elaborately to you. It will be followed, and a decision will ultimately be made guided by that process. Now, rather than sort of engage in conjecture and hypotheticals, I think the officers at the table have given you and other senators a very full description of the competitive evaluation process.
No, they haven't.
I think they, with respect, they have.
But Attorney, it is not. It is not a hypothetical to say that there's been a competitive evaluation process in the not too distant past where the winner of that process was knocked aside on strategic considerations.
Well, look, that may be so, but Senator, as I say, that is, if the precedent is there, it's not a particularly instructive one. All of these decisions tend to turn on their own particular facts. There is a very, very, very complex decision. There is a process which will generate that decision, and that's been described to you.
I've got some questions on